All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 2 all afternoon. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How are we feeling on a Friday afternoon?
Feeling very good. Just went and presented a little thank you gift pack to my neighbor Al down at the beach last weekend. Took apart his deck to get my cat out from under it, and I gave him a nice bottle of wine to say thanks.
There you go. Was it a $80 bottle of wine like Miguel Cabrera got in Oakland last night?
But that's a good, like Camus is good. That's good wine. Don't get me wrong.
Camus is good for a 10th anniversary, and you're deciding, you know what, we're going to really get a little bit crazy tonight.
Yeah.
Camus would be great for me.
For us. For
all
us.
of us, exactly. That's a phenomenal bottle of wine. For a guy who has 3,000 hits, multiple MVPs, is going to the Hall of Fame, and is doing a tour around baseball, that is such an embarrassment.
Excuse me.
Only Oakland.
First of all, I have a couple questions about this. Did he bring it to people's attention that this is what they got me?
I don't know.
Or this is just somebody else tweeted out the pic and said, what a joke?
No. I'll give you the answer on that. The Oakland Athletics social media team. He posted a picture with the skip at home plate. He's holding an $80 bottle of wine. He's a half an hour away from Napa Valley. Napa Valley.
He can go get it from the tub there.
Exactly.
From
Francis
a vat.
Ford Coppola could drive him in a $15,000 bottle of wine.
This is where you're
within
dead
an hour.
wrong. This is where you're dead wrong. I don't think any organization on a farewell tour, if you want to do something like give them like, it's almost like the expectation. It's like, it's not Jeter. I know the guy was great, but what the hell are you looking for? Just wave to the crowd and get a little video tribute and get out of Dodge.
Fine, then don't give him anything. But that's the point.
The point is, I think it's embarrassing. They try to do something nice. They give the guy a bottle of wine, and you think it's embarrassing.
Yes.
Well, that's a nice bottle of wine. What the hell? He never played for the team. He's circling around the league, and he's trying to say goodbye to everybody, and you know what? You're the epitome of the complainer culture.
Oh,
They gave him a nice gift.
Oh, yeah. No, they did. That's the point, dude. Relatively speaking, you're right.
This show is off the rails immediately.
I'll give you an answer. Because if you're walking down the street and someone says, here's a bottle of wine, that's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
The average person, again, I am an average person. Relatively speaking, I'm not buying an $80 bottle of wine.
Yeah, I just gave Al, my neighbor, a bottle of, it's called Stag's Leap. It's probably a $100 bottle of wine.
There you go.
But I don't think Al said to his wife, that cheap bastard down the street, we took deck boards off to get his cat out of the thing. We don't like the wine he gave us.
We got to get into that the cat story later.
No, but the point is, it's a nice thing for the Oakland A's to give him something. They could have said, you're not welcome here and we don't care, you're retiring.
What, so he can't play? He's not welcome here. He's in Major League Baseball. He was in the lineup last night.
As far as the recognition, they could have sent an email to the Tigers and said, congrats to Miggy, but we're not recognizing it. We'll do a little something on the Videotron, and he can wave to the crowd, and that is the end of it.
I think
our poor fans will have rats in the press box.
Possum.
And the team is leaving.
Yeah.
And you're complaining about they don't have two nickels to rub together, and you're complaining about the wine?
Here's what I would have done. If you're not going to go all out, don't give him anything at all. Exactly. Acknowledge him and say congratulations, all that. Give him the big video tribute, shake his hand, and move on. I think where Brian's going is if you're going to give him, and believe me, $100, that's $80 American. It's $100 up here because I bought Camus for some friends.
Sure, it's great
last
wine.
weekend, two
great
weekends
wine.
ago.
Shout
great
out to
wine.
Camus.
But if you're going to give him a bottle of wine, you're thinking maybe a bigger, more grander gesture, something like that, instead of just. Hey, sending an intern down and going, go grab.
Here's my theory. Here's what I believe happened. They showed up. They were around the cage. They're watching him hit BP. And someone looked over at the team service guy and said, so what are we giving him for his last time here in Oakland? He goes, I don't have anything. What are you talking about? And then they panicked and they said, well, go find the most expensive bottle of wine we have in the stadium. Like, go up to the owner's box. Yeah. And there was a bottle of Camus sitting there, and someone grabbed it, put a bow on it, and said, take this out for the picture. That's what I think happened. And that's why it's amateur hour. No. Because only the Oakland Athletics would do this. There isn't another franchise in pro sports that would gift a guy with 3,000 hits, multiple MVPs, going to the Hall of Fame, doing the goodbye tour with an $80 bottle of Kirkland Red. That's effectively what was handed over. And I'm
Well,
sorry, it's amateur
I've seen
hour.
the tour. I've seen the tour, and I personally don't think other organizations are obligated to do anything.
Of course they're not.
And I've seen some stops, Hazy B, where some guy whittled a baseball player out of wood, and it's like, there you go. This is a really nice carving.
Right.
It's like, is that
Effort.
any better?
The
Effort.
Ronaldo statue.
Sure.
Basically, that's what it is.
But at least that's effort.
So do you want some pigeon to whittle a
Yes.
caricature
Okay,
Yes.
out of wood
I want
and give it to him?
Here's the
whittling
other
pigeons.
thing, though. Do you do your research?
You are a whittling pigeon. Other teams do not have to give the guy something.
No,
he never
it's peer
played
pressure.
there.
You're not giving
Their
him a
stadium's
motorcycle.
falling down. Their pets' heads are falling off, and their team is leaving. And this guy's complaining about the quality of the wine.
He wasn't, to clarify.
No, he's fine holding that too. JP just got into our ear. Did you hear what he said too? That player is, I believe, in the program recovering
Yes,
alcoholic.
he has had alcohol issues in the past, which is another point here
Reading
that kind
the
of
room.
makes. Now, that doesn't mean Miggy doesn't appreciate it, give it to somebody else.
I understand that, but it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you quit smoking, you don't hand the guy a pack of cigarettes.
That's why I believe my theory is ironclad. Around the
Ironclad
cage.
theory.
Wow, his last time in Oakland.
know what?
This is wild.
What
do
I
this
do
guy?
agree with you on how it went down. It was like,
Yeah.
hey, Jimmy, what are we cooking up tonight? And he's like, absolutely nothing.
Like that is something
You get
where,
your ass up to the press box and you
Yeah.
find something in a luxury suite and come down here and hand it to him and
Find
act him like we cared
something.
about it.
A 2020 cab, which is a beautiful bottle of wine, again.
Yeah.
But relatively speaking, wine is the snobbiest liquid on earth. You can find a bottle of red that costs, in Napa Valley, you could find something that's 10 grand,
Yeah,
15
well,
grand.
you
And I
need to go
understand
right down,
it's
like-
ridiculous. And is it unnecessary to direct money towards Miggy and his career? Of course it is. And Miguel Cabrera, he doesn't care probably. He probably got the
Right.
bottle, passed it, gave it to the trainer and said, it's all yours, pal. See you later.
Right.
And went up there and, took his ABs and left. But
Grappler, come up with some players that are coming near the end, some of the all-time greats or potential all-time greats. Maybe we can do something later in the show where we can decide what we will give them if they came to the OverDrive Stadium for a stop.
great
Yeah,
idea.
but you're right.
Great
Okay.
idea.
There's-
Because this guy here, apparently this guy's going to be handing out Ferraris there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
for sure.
Sidney Crosby rolls through the OverDrive arena for the
He
last
gets a
time.
boat, he gets a motorcycle,
Yes,
he gets
he does.
something.
What are
Yes,
you
he
guys
does.
talking about?
Yes,
you don't
he does.
give these guys boats and
What was
cars. They
Jeter
never
getting when he
played.
did? But when Jeter went through, like the tour around, didn't Kobe do the tour
Yes,
around?
Kobe did.
What were they getting for gifts from
Dude,
other teams?
Derek Jeter, I bet you he filled a warehouse with stuff. I'm telling you, it was full meal deal. Mariano Rivera, same thing. I
Yep.
think Mariano Rivera, who's a classy guy, I think at each stop, he took time to speak to all of the staff of the organization. I
Right.
know he did
Yeah.
in Toronto. I don't know if he did it all around the league. But he took time and talked to all the staff and had a little meet and greet and a little chat. So good on Mariano. Maybe he deserves something nice. Jeter, I don't know what they gave him, but he had a warehouse full of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
'cause
He had a gift basket worth of stuff. That's
what if
probably
they
what
gave
happened.
him a gift basket?
That would be the greatest gift of all time. A gift basket to Jeter.
Yeah.
Roles reversing.
Yeah.
Here's a gift basket, Derek.
But where's the
the loofah
where's,
in it.
where is the cutoff line? Where is the cutoff line for like the high end gift?
Well,
Like that's the
it's a
thing.
good
Somebody
question.
who's just retired or had like I don't even know if I signed my papers. I didn't sign my retirement papers. I might have got a Cineplex pass. That's what I would have gotten.
Yes.
A $20 Cineplex.
Or a bottle of Camus.
No,
Noodles
that's too
probably
high
gets
end.
a-
I'll tell you what,
bottle.
That's too
it
high
just
end.
makes me circle back to my first game returning to Carolina. Not even a video tribute. And this guy, we're complaining that he didn't get
Well,
wine.
you know what? I was thinking about you the other day because I was reading an article about Messi and why he was so bent out of shape with PSG, his former team, prior to coming over here. Because after Argentina beat France in the World Cup final, he went back to PSG, which is, of course, in Paris.
Right.
And they never gave him a video montage.
Really?
And he's so bent out of shape. He said every other one of his teammates went back to their respective clubs and they were given like the red carpet treatment and he got dusted. So you're in Messi's category. You're in Messi's category.
I don't think that he was there that long, and it was kind of was it a bit of a contentious split? Like, wasn't it just like, see you later?
I think so. And again, it's in Paris, and he beat France in the final, but still have some class. Right? Like, let me rank it. Oakland's up here. PSG is below them. And the Carolina Hurricanes are below them because a 10-year vet should have got a response when he came home for the first time. That's how I'm ranking, the class system of certain teams in pro sports.
Even if they had the mascot bring out, what was that mascot, Porky the Pig, or what was his?
Stormy the Pig.
Stormy the Pig. Bring out a pulled pork sandwich or something for you.
Yes.
Just an acknowledgement.
Some sort of recognition.
You're right.
For Messi and for O.
I agree.
Two elite athletes.
At least, a nice bottle of wine, which Camus is a very nice bottle of wine.
Hey, listen, I have developed a palate for red wine. I have come around big time the last 6 months. Big fan, starting to get into it. Never thought I would. Immediately snobbier. Immediately you're more pretentious, right? When
I thought you were like a Kimmy Craw.
I've diverted. I have hung a right into an element of pretension that is ridiculous.
Let me ask you this, though. When you get the wine brought to the table, do you do the swirl? And
you have to do the
swirl. Stick your snout in there.
Yes.
Do you actually know what the hell you're doing? If I'm sitting at a table with Matt Cause, who's a sommelier, I will allow him to do that. If they bring it to me, I'm going to pour it in.
I have
no idea what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. So why would I stick my snout in there, pretend I know I'm being a hero?
I think you have the swirl and sniff makes you just feel like you're living an elite lifestyle.
You're a prince.
That's it. It's an elite lifestyle.
What if it's gasoline and it's spoiled, but you're like, that's beautiful.
I probably wouldn't know the difference.
You wouldn't know the difference.
No, I probably wouldn't. I have no understanding of one wine from the next. None.
Right. They could have poured it from a box through a shoe into your
That
glass.
would have been better. Oakland should have just played the role and given them a box of wine. That would have been outstanding. Here's a box of wine we just picked up on the corner. We're leaving for Vegas in the next year and a half.
Yeah.
We're never going to see you again. We really don't care that much, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Jays lost last night. It felt like Garrett Cole was sniffing out a perfect game last night, man.
He was.
And we were talking about it before the game. We're like, wow, look who they faced the night before. King was unbelievable. I can't imagine that Cole could possibly match that. He was better. He was phenomenal last night. And the Jays, they tried to muster some late runs. They had a late rally. They made it interesting late, but they couldn't get the job done. Still, they take 2 of 3 in New York. The thing is, they're going to the Trop now for 3 against Tampa. They got 6 left against Tampa, and Tampa is smelling blood in the water with Baltimore.
Right.
Like, you're going to get a series at the Trop because Tampa is a game and a half back of Baltimore. They could possibly get that top seed.
They win those 3 games.
What about the fact that
Absolutely.
they won 3 times down there in 17 years? Does that not enter the equation?
That's concerning as well.
Yeah.
That's concerning as well. But, whoever is going to win the West and whoever's going to win the East is going to get a bye right into the divisional series.
Right.
So, that's a lot on the line for Baltimore and for Tampa. So, yes, the history is one thing. The fact that Tampa's motivated. Now, that doesn't stop the fact that the Blue Jays better be motivated, right? They're fighting for their lives as well.
Yeah, it's not a lock.
No, by no means is it a lock.
So what are they down to? Is it 10 games and they need to go 6-4?
They're a half game up on Seattle and Texas, but those 2 teams both have the tiebreak, and yet those 2 teams are playing this weekend.
Right.
So you're looking at a situation here where all eyes are going to be on wherever the Jays are and whatever's going on with Texas and with Seattle. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this is what you probably were expecting to happen. It's probably, honestly, I feel like we've been having the same conversation for like 2 or 3 months.
Right.
Right? Like, they're in it. They're alive. We'll see what happens.
Got 9 games left, and I think by my calculations, what Griff had it out, they need to go 6-3 because it was 8-4 or whatever. Now they won 2, and then they lost the 1. So I think it's 6-3. They'd feel pretty good about themselves based on what Griff's projections
Absolutely.
were.
Griff is a mad scientist when it comes to crunching numbers.
Yeah.
But, naturally, only one team can win tonight in Texas. So if you find a way to win, you're going to be in a good position.
Yeah.
Only one team could win and cover last night, and happened to be my San Francisco
back in it,
49ers.
eh?
Dude, if you didn't smell that one a mile away, like, come
Here we
on.
go.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm just
Danny
saying.
Dimes is going to shock the world out there.
It's so amazing how you have these feelings of like accomplishing the impossible, and then it's just like, that's not even close. Like, that's not the truth. Like you said it yesterday, Hayes. It's not even in the same league.
No,
like
it wasn't.
Yeah, it's a joke, really.
Yeah, it
It's
really
a joke.
is. It's not so much that the Giants, they've been terrible. Like, they've been terrible through 3 games. But it's that the Niners are so elite.
Yeah.
They're so elite. Their defense is so dominant. Their offensive weapons are so plentiful. And then Brock Purdy, who I guess he played well last night, but it's funny. Like, this guy hasn't lost a regular season game.
Dude, no
and I don't
kidding.
even know how to describe him as
And
a
the
player.
other guy on the other side, I'm going to tell you for the last time, I'm sorry. You claimed that that's what you got to pay a quarterback. Wrong. I'll pay someone else.
Okay.
I'm serious.
I know, it's terrible.
How could you pay? What is it? $40 million?
40 sheet.
Yeah, he's like Brock Purdy's
And
making
you
like
had the
$800,000.
audacity to say that's what you got to pay a quarterback. Wrong. I'll pay someone else and take my chances,
Well,
or I'll tank and wait for some kid because that's
fine. I'm just saying, like with him in the position he was in, he came off a good year last year. They made the playoffs. Statistically, he played well. Brian Dable and Danny Dimes connected pretty well. And the going rate for that position, coming off a good year, who's going to be free, is to pay him that kind of money.
No, it's
like
not.
that. Well,
it's not.
it is. Though. Like, that's why
I'm
he
going
got
to pay
it.
someone else, though.
Okay.
I'd pay someone else.
Yeah, well, that very well could be the case in the future where the Giants realize we really screwed this up.
Right.
Buyer's remorse, right? Just like the Oakland Athletics.
Buyer's
remorse.
Buyer's remorse of the wine. We're going to do the OverDrive gifting session maybe later in the show.
All right. Gift baskets.
Strutty at the end of his career would have got a pair of spandex.
Yes.
Or maybe
He liked that,
a
though.
flight to Turkey.
That's expensive.
Just
I don't know
a
if we're doing
wig and a 6-pack.
A wig. A wig.
that. All right. Mike Johnson coming up. Johnny will join us. Obviously, the Leafs back on the ice today. The new owner in Ottawa is officially locked in. We'll get into that later this afternoon. The rest of our Week 3 picks, our picks for Sunday coming up later this afternoon. Dear Hazy B at 6:30.
Ooh.
Dear Hazy B, send in your submissions at OverDrive 1050. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Mike Johnson in about 45. But more picks for Week 3 in the NFL. I'm coming off a winner. I'm starting to see the board very well. I've had tough games, too. The toughest games.
What are you talking about? You won 2 games.
Yeah, I've won 2 and I had a push, a gutless backdoor push where the Saints decided to allow Bryce Young to basically score because his parents were in the stands.
Okay,
Very
but
charitable.
don't say you're seeing the board well. If it were flipped, you
Well-
would say you guys should basically fold and you suck, and this is not even the same league. That's what you'd be saying.
Well, maybe last night was the TSN turning.
I think it was. 2-0-1 my last 3 picks. I don't know. Sounds pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And the Niners are very good. The Niners are 3-0, and now they are rocking, man. And Christian McCaffrey, all he does is score touchdowns. That's all he does. Like 12 straight games, this guy scored a touchdown. It's wild.
Guy's sick. He's always been
He's
sick.
so good. To chat about what happened last night, what's cooking throughout the NFL, leading into a big slate of games on Sunday. We head down to Green Bay now, catch up with former Packer, ESPN Wisconsin host. Here is Mark Tauscher. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. I just have to say, anytime you're prefacing you winning a bunch and complaining about someone scoring because their mom is in the stands,
Yes.
that typically means things maybe aren't going as well as maybe
No,
you think they are.
that's not true, man. I think that's an ironclad theory that the Saints were being charitable and they said, you know what, let's hook this guy up. Just to screw me over up in Toronto. They knew I was riding the
Yeah, I'm
Saints.
sure. That's exactly what they were looking at, is how that played out. I bet there's probably some accuracy.
There has to be. Yeah, we're huge down in New Orleans. They love us down there. When you look at the Niners, like this week, obviously the Packers, they got a big game at home. There's other teams that are very good. Dallas, very good. The Eagles are very good. But staying in the NFC, if everyone stays healthy, and that's always difficult to predict, do you believe the Niners are a cut above everyone else in the NFC?
I think, it's always easy when you look at what you're seeing so far, but every time this NFL season, you look for who's going to progress and who's going to improve. San Francisco is playing great right now. And I think they were in the NFC Championship last year. quarterback gets hurt and they get disqualified basically because they don't have a quarterback. But I think it's going to come down to Philly and San Fran. This year, I think that 1 seed is going to be even more critical. You're going to see jockeying for that because I do think there is a noticeable gap between the Cowboys, Eagles, and San Francisco. And then you have a bunch of up-and-coming, scrappy teams. There's nobody else that I think anybody would be really fearful of. But I do think Philadelphia, until somebody takes that NFC championship from them, I think with Jalen Hurts and with that team, with the way they're built up front, San Fran and Philly and Dallas, I think it's going to be a 3-headed race for the majority of the season. And like you said, you already saw an injury to Dallas, one of their star players that goes down. It's going to be who gets lucky with injuries, and especially with San Francisco, if their quarterback gets hurt, they're in big trouble. So you have to stay healthy. That's always the key part. But I like those 3 teams as kind of standalone when it comes to the NFC.
Speaking of the quarterback in San Fran, how incredible is this Purdy story? It just doesn't generally play out that way. It seems like you go in and there's an injury and then you just disappear for a while. You don't have success. Like, how incredible is it you watching that, the story of Purdy?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They always say Mr. Irrelevant and late picks, and you never know how things are going to play out. But when a guy's ready for his opportunity and he just grabs a hold of it, I love seeing it.
Me too.
For San Francisco, typically you make a pick, you do what they did in the draft a couple of years ago with Trey Lance, and it doesn't work like it didn't. That'll set your franchise back years.
Yeah.
But they were fortunate and lucky, let's be honest, that they really knew what they were doing. Brock Purdy would have got drafted a lot higher, but he has stepped in, and it shows a little bit also of Kyle Shanahan's brilliance as far as how he operates. He wins with Jimmy Garoppolo. He finds a way to win and put his guys in a position to be successful. So Brock Purdy, with making $900,000 a year, it allows you to pay Bosa all that money. It allows you to pay Warner. You have all those defensive guys you can pay a bunch of money because he's on this rookie deal. So their window is going to tighten because if they're paying Brock Purdy $45-50 million a year, which you're going to have a really hard time sustaining that success. So they have a 2 or 3 year window here where they have this quarterback. If he can stay healthy and play like he is, San Francisco's positioning itself really well.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, he's making $870,000 this year. To put that into perspective,
when does he get paid?
Well, he's still a couple of years away. He's only in his 2nd year, but Al Michaels earned almost $1 million last night. Al Michaels was flying private and making $1 million, and Purdy's making $870,000 for the season. And I saw on ESPN Stats and Info last night that Brock Purdy is the 3rd youngest player in NFL history to throw for 700 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through 3 games. The 2 younger players, Lamar Jackson in 2019, he won MVP that year. Patrick Mahomes in 2018, he won MVP that year. Do you believe Brock Purdy has a chance at MVP pursuit?
No, I don't. I don't think he does. And if you watch last night's game, his stat line looked good. He threw a couple balls. I mean, Kittle played defensive back on the one and knocked it away. He's going to make mistakes. That team is going to win because their defense is dominant and McCaffrey. I think Purdy would probably be 4th. MVP always goes to a quarterback. I would think there's 3 or 4 guys, including Trent Williams, that I would probably put ahead winning an MVP from San Francisco before I'd put Brock Purdy in there. But not to take anything away from him, he's doing what is being asked of him. They're not asking him to be Patrick Mahomes. They're asking him to manage games, don't make critical mistakes, make some critical throws when you need to. And that's been their formula, and it's been very successful.
With Mark Tauscher, longtime NFLer, former Packer, ESPN Wisconsin host. So obviously you cover the Packers closely. You're connected to the Packers. I'm sure you're not shedding tears for the Bears. But I got to get your take on their situation because I saw Aaron Rodgers was on with McAfee today saying he sent a text to Jordan Love saying, congratulations on the continuation of owning the Bears. Their defensive coordinator resigned earlier this week, and no one knows what happened. But sounds wild.
How did he resign? Did someone tell him to resign, or he just said, I am so sick of this garbage, I'm out of here?
No, it sounds like there was some real funny business going on, and it was basically like, you have to leave.
Yeah, there's an investigation going on or something.
Yes.
Yeah, nonsense.
So you've got that. You got Justin Fields saying the reason he's playing robotic is because of the coaching staff. And now a report came out this afternoon that Soldier Field got robbed for $100,000 worth of stuff on Wednesday night. Someone broke into Soldier Field and stole $100,000 worth of equipment.
Wow.
Like, place yourself on the Chicago Bears, Mark. Are you just looking around saying this is a complete gong show and we have no chance?
I mean, you're going to lie to yourself and say that's not the case, but yeah, it's a hot mess. Your quarterback's calling out the coaching staff. I just knew going into this offseason when Aaron Rodgers got traded and the fact that when the schedule came out, the Packers were playing the Bears, all Bear fans, the Bears media, everybody was looking at this saying, finally, Favre and Rodgers are gone. Finally got a new quarterback. We can finally get it. Our quarterback is going into his third year, and we're getting all this positive stuff. And I just felt like if Green Bay can beat Chicago, they'll break them. The fan base, the organization, the team, they go down there and they whoop them. And Chicago, I think their psyche's battered. But I think this looks to me, organizationally, they are just a hot mess. You could put a ton of quarterbacks in that position, and with what they're doing, it's just not working. So whatever they're doing, I think from a Packer fan standpoint, hey, keep doing it. We love it. It's just another rung, as Aaron Rodgers said, keeping the ownership in the quarterback's name is great. But the Chicago Bears are a hot mess. And I don't know, they need a win really badly because this thing, as bad as this week was and all the things you just listed, I don't know how it's going to get any better. You're going to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. I don't think that's the formula for success. But if they can find a way to win that game, maybe they can turn their fortune around, but I wouldn't bet that.
Are you concerned about the Cowboys with the Diggs injury?
Well, I mean, Micah Parsons is so good. Obviously, anytime you lose your number one corner, that takes away a lot of options at what you want to do defensively. So, yeah, I think it's a big hit because that defense is carrying that team. But I like the way they're built. I think they're good up front on both sides. They obviously get after the quarterback. And if you're going to lose a star defensive back, the best thing you can do is get pass rush to help whoever is subbing for him. But you can't replace somebody like him because he's such a ball hawk. He creates so many turnovers. It's going to be a tough one for them to overcome. But I do like the way Dallas is playing, and we'll see how they have to change their defense now that they don't have their star corner playing.
We have Mark Tauscher. So you're a former Packer. You do radio down there. You cover this team closely. They're 1-1. They let one get away from them last week in Atlanta. They had that game. They threw it away. The concerns in Green Bay forever have been all that talent on the defensive side. Can they get stopped? Specifically the run game. That's what killed them on Sunday. But Jordan Love's stats have been outstanding. I've been really, really happy with what I've seen out of him. Give us a kind of vibe check down there in and around Green Bay on how people are feeling about Love and how people are now feeling about the Packers' chances of competing this year.
Yeah, you nailed it. Maybe you should come up and cover the squad because you hit on all the things that our fans have been calling about. Jordan Love has been great. He's not turned the football over. He's completing, he's throwing touchdowns. He's making big plays. He's doing what's being asked. And last week, 12-point lead on the road without your two best weapons and your starting left tackle and guard. So Jordan Love has been, I think, better than all expectations have been. I think there's a feeling he's going to continue to get better and better. So we feel really good. There's questions about, well, how can this defense get better? You have all these first-round picks. How can you improve? And last week, I just think Bijan Robinson's a stud. Mm-hmm. He went in and dominated us, especially in that second half, and he's a really good player. Now, this week you're playing New Orleans. The run defense and what they're asking this group to do, they need to be better. Joe Barry's group has to play better, have to create more turnovers. That's, I think, the key to what they're doing. And if the defense with 8, 9 first-round picks that play big minutes, they need to do a better job because I think the team is built to run the football and to stop people. And then Jordan Love just make enough plays. He's held up his end of that bargain. Now it's time for the defense to do the same.
We'll see how it plays out this weekend. Really great to catch up with you, Mark. We appreciate it, man. We'll do it again down the road.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Mark Tauscher, former Packer O-lineman, ESPN Wisconsin host.
Love it.
Love it. Thanks. Yeah, Packers
Nice.
1-1. Playing New Orleans. New Orleans 2-0, though.
I think there's some life with your Pack.
I'm starting to get that feeling as well. And
They've been in both games, right?
they blew the other game. Like, they crushed Chicago. They had that game in Atlanta. They threw it away. The Vikings are 0-2. They got the Chargers at home this week. Vikings-Chargers, both teams 0-2. That is the desperation bowl.
Kirk Cousins, though.
Kirk Cousins.
No, I don't have any association with him.
No?
He does stuff that just... He's poisonous, man, for me personally.
Yeah.
Survivor pools, Owen Wilson, everything. He throws a wrench in the plans.
You like that?
No, I don't.
that?
Stop
God, I
playing
hate that. I really hate that drop. It's such an obnoxious drop.
I told you, I watched that special. You will fall in love with Kirk Cousins.
You're a fan? Well, it's not personal.
But watching him do business is like I like that guy.
Yeah, and
you got
listen,
a soft spot for him.
His stats have been insanely good, like through 2 weeks. Like,
right,
he's been great statistically.
Yeah, he's thrown for like 700 yards.
Yeah, he's more or less protected the ball, and it really hasn't been his problem. It's the defense can't stop anyone.
Right,
but
it is concerning because if he has an off game, they can't go 0-3. Like he's got to.
They go 0-3, it's over. Like I can't imagine how many teams in NFL history have started 0-3. I'd be curious because the stats would indicate if you start 0-2, it's like a 10% chance you make it.
Wow.
So someone's leaving Minnesota, Vikings or Chargers, thinking our season is toast.
Right.
And it's a tight spread, too, isn't it? Like 1.5. Like it's a really.
That's a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's 1.5. It's really, really close. Effectively a pick 'em, and I think that makes sense.
I hope the Chargers. I don't know if we have the game. If that game's in play, if the grappler actually would do that to us and put that game in play.
Yeah, that one.
But I hope the Chargers wax them.
That's your game. Owen Wilson, Chargers at Vikings, the 1 o'clock window.
Game, yeah.
First tough game you've had all year. Everything else has been a layup. It's about time you guys actually got.
You just got to pick the winner, basically.
Yeah, more or less.
Can we pick a different game?
No, it's been established. Joe from the Bridge has put the board up. Everything's done.
Been established.
The wheels are in motion. There's nothing we can do here. I wish we could change it, but we just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locked
I
in
think
stone.
5 times a year you should be able to change a game.
Well, then you would have probably done that in the first.
Yeah, exactly.
week,
I got
right?
jammed up so badly. Like the first 2 weeks, I got the hardest games of the year.
Board of Governors
I didn't
meeting
complain about it.
to install 3 times per team. You can say I'd like a different game. Board of Governors conference call.
I don't see it happening.
So
Maybe
the grappler
one
can just
challenge
jam
flag.
us up at any time, and you're fine with that?
Listen, I get jammed up too. The grappler's just picking the big games. That's what the grappler's doing here. The biggest game in the 1 o'clock
How
hour.
do you classify Minnesota versus the Chargers a big game?
Because they're both 0-2. They're both desperate, and it's a must-win for both games. That's
Okay.
it.
And
And I would just like to jump in and go through the rest of the 1 o'clock slate, and you'll see why I
Enlighten me.
went with Chargers Vikings.
Enlighten me.
Okay, Bills Commanders. Not picking that game.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, yeah, of course you do. You like anything that's not Chargers Vikings. Saints Packers, Falcons Lions, Titans Browns, Texans Jaguars, Patriots Jets actually would have been a good one if Aaron Rodgers was playing.
Right.
Broncos Dolphins, Colts Ravens.
Yeah.
Like none of that stands out.
Listen, that's the whole point of gambling. They're tough games. You know, like the line
Lions
is what
Falcons kind of got my attention a little. It doesn't matter. I am not allowed to change.
Well,
No,
anyway.
it's-
you should have
everything's
maybe
been established.
throughout the year, you could maybe have one challenge flag, like one.
Oh.
Yeah, but then here's the question with that. If you throw a challenge flag, does the grappler get to pick the game anyway, or do you get to substitute a game that you want?
get. How about this? You get. We'll work out the details.
Yeah, but starting next
if you
week,
could
not
throw
this-
the-
not
this week, but
Not
starting
this
next
week.
week,
Not
you can
this-
have one challenge flag if you guys don't like what
I
you're
like that.
seeing or hearing.
I
Are
kind of like
you
that idea.
are you saying one challenge flag for the year though?
Yes, one challenge flag for the rest of the season. You got.
I
one
think you
challenge
get a
flag.
3-pack the rest of the way in. Guys, the season ends in February.
it's a long
long
season.
haul.
Okay, maybe
It's a long
2.
season.
I'll negotiate a second one in, but like
Okay.
maybe 2 challenge flags.
That's the new rule. You get 3-pack per year,
3.
and you get to like discard the grappler and pick the game you want.
All right. I can live with that, but it's not happening this week.
No,
I
It will
get it.
start week 4. Fine. Established. Agreed upon.
So 3 challenge flags or 2?
3. A
3's a little rich because now you're going to start messing around here.
Hey,
or you
here's
wait
how
until
we
the end
figure
of
it
the
out.
year.
We're going to do this the right way, the OverDrive way. Put the poll out there. Should there be a 3-pack of challenges a year, or it's all the Grappler and it's 0?
Here.
And the fans vote.
Fine, let them vote, but I'll add something to it. If you got to be penalized. It's like trying to call for a replay or a review and it doesn't work for you. If you throw a flag and you switch the game and then you lose,
It's worth 2.
it's worth 2 in the other guy's column. Let's see what kind of stones we have here.
Oh, so it's like, you're challenging
Now, if
the
you win,
offside, you get the
win.
penalty if you don't.
Exactly. And if you change it and you win, you get the win. But if you challenge it, you pick a new game and you still lose, 2-pack the other way.
Wow.
That's what I
Get
think
your
that's-
own material.
Yay or
2-pack is
nay?
mine.
Yay or nay? We go around the table.
I think that's a pretty good.
Yay.
I like
Yay.
that. I like that a
All right.
lot.
Okay, Mike Johnson in about 25 minutes. Jays Rays tonight, starting in the Trop. We'll start teeing that up later this afternoon. Luke is still coming up. Duffy's on the show today. Dear Hazy B, we got a lot cooking. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Mike Johnson will join us in about 20 minutes. Camps are open league-wide. You're looking for different stories every day. Seems like today the big story was Tyler Bertuzzi, how he's going to fit in on that top line.
Oh, yeah?
And, with the
You want me
history,
to lay that out for you, how simple that one is?
how do you think that's going to work?
You go in the corner, finish your check. You get the puck, you roll it in behind the net to Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner passes it to Auston Matthews, and you score. Very simple role. Like
Yeah.
you just honestly, you do the dirty work. You get in there and forecheck and roll the puck to the skill. You go to the net. You bang in rebounds. You make some space, slash through some lanes, open up Matthews. It's an awesome position to be in.
Yeah.
I said that about Bunting last year. It's like he didn't have a great year last year. He was okay, but he didn't kind of build off his first year playing with those guys, and then you saw him bounce around the lineup. But I'll tell you what, Bertuzzi, 1-year deal playing on that line, he can easily rip home 35 goals. Easily rip home 35 goals.
I'll give him 30 goals and 60 points, but I just think he brings a different dynamic, a little stronger dynamic than Bunting, because he's a bigger body, a tougher body.
Just a better player. He's an overall better
He's a
player.
better player, which, Bunting's moved on. Happy for him. But Bunting, I think he got ahead of himself last year. Like all you have to do is play simple straight line hockey there and let the other two control the pace, control everything. And I don't know why Bunting didn't have that consistent season to the point where they weren't trusting what he was doing on that line. Mm-hmm. And there were times where he's on the third line, fourth line. I think, plus the nonsense with the ref too. I think Sheldon had had enough of that.
Well, and he got
all
suspended.
the skill all the skill in Detroit in those cup years, like with Yzerman and Fedorov. There was a guy who was always in front of the net and always in the corners and always banging in rebounds and Noodles. I'm sure he was a pain in the ass for you, and that was that Holmstrom.
Yeah, him and Franzen they were carbon copies of each other. The big monsters that just stood in front of the net,
grind it out and bang in dirty goals. It was just they had made a good living down there doing that. But pretty easy. You got to have some guys doing it. And Tyler Bertuzzi, I think he's going to be a perfect fit on that line. He's a pretty good player. Like everyone thinks about the grittiness and Bert's nephew, but he's a pretty damn good player. He makes good plays out there, and he's smart, and he goes to the net, and he cares, and he fights, and he's gritty.
He's got to stay healthy. That's like number one for him because he's had real health issues over the last few years. And like a couple of years ago, he had 30 goals, 30 assists, I believe, and didn't play 82 games.
Yeah. And who did he play with? Who did he rip home 30 with? It wasn't Marner and Matthews.
Dylan Larkin. And
right.
Yeah, exactly. Now is a big opportunity, but he's also got to realize, and I don't think this is a surprise to him, and I don't think he would dispute it. Like, you're number 3 on that line.
Yeah, you defer.
Like, you are not the guy who is driving play
but read the
with
room.
Matthews and Marner.
But that's my point. He will be. Whoever they bring in, you're going to be number 3 on that line, but embrace it. Embrace it, develop that chemistry, and that comes through working through exhibition, understanding where players want to be, and a new environment. I look at Ken Holland talked about it in his presser last year at the end of the season, talking about players with their new environment. The only guy who really hit the ground running last year, didn't look back, was Matthew Tkachuk. Went to Florida and dominated. Had a great season from pillar to post. Huberdeau, Kadri, you go right down the line, guys who changed, Jack Campbell, guys who changed environments. Sometimes it takes a little bit to settle in. With Bertuzzi, he doesn't, obviously Toronto will be a little bit different for him. Obviously, spotlight on him, all of the attention. But all he's got to do is just play straight line hockey, play tough hockey, and defer to those guys.
Yeah.
And he'll be fine. But there might be a chance or a scenario where maybe it's not the perfect fit and he slides down one peg and Nyes goes up or Domi goes up or something like that. They're still looking for the next player, the number 3 on that line.
I got to admit to you guys, I got to admit, I've never looked at it or never felt like a pecking order on a specific line. Like to say number 2 or number 1 or that's the guy on the line. I think if you get 3 really, really quality, smart hockey players together, this is how I felt playing with, like I played on a really good line with Ron Francis and Gary Roberts, and it was like I was not the third guy. Obviously, Ronnie was the big dog. He was the Hall of Fame player. But when everybody's smart and everybody works and you go out there and do things, it just kind of, it's just like an engine. It just runs and it's good. Smart hockey plays and give and goes and go to the net. And it's, I don't know. But whoever was open was the guy that shot the puck. There was no 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But it's playing your role too. Sidney Crosby, Chris Kunitz, and Pascal Dupuis. You knew who the big dog was? But that line was awesome because Kunitz could hit like a train. He was so strong. And Dupuis was a shooter. He had a great shot. But it's that mixing and matching. It's that chemistry.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't come overnight.
Basically, it doesn't come overnight, Jamie, but it's everybody, instead of labeling it 1, 2, 3, it's everybody working and bringing, you just mentioned Kunitz, the physicality, everyone bringing different attributes to the line to help it be successful.
Right.
If you're physical, you get on bodies, you get on pucks. If you're a shooter, you get open, and you have the skill guy that make the plays. It's just everybody does something a little bit different to offer up the line. Right. Sometimes lines with really skilled players, some Russian lines in the past, like in Detroit, it's all skill and it works. Other lines, you have everybody that does a little bit something different, and that works. It's the energy and the chemistry in the line. It's a very complex thing because you sometimes put together, when Connor McDavid went out to Edmonton, I said Taylor Hall's going to score 85 goals this year because they're both lightning fast, and for whatever reason it just didn't work out. It's just, the energy's got to work and the chemistry's got to work, and it's a fine line, but once it does, it's a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. And listen, they got a lot of time. Every team in the league, every coach in the league has spent the summer with a whiteboard putting together different things they think will work, but it doesn't mean that it necessarily will.
You know what they do nowadays, though? It's not even the whiteboard. You plan that out, but now they start to go and watch the players' tendencies and their shifts through video. So they'll have probably watched every shift that Bertuzzi's had the last 2 years. The coaching. Coaches put that type of work in and go, boy, this guy's really good at the wall. This guy's really... So you're already trying to plan some of the plays and some of the thought process in the offensive zone around his strengths and then maybe his potential weaknesses. And
the hell do you have pro scouts for? Isn't that a pro scout's job to say, well, this is what he does well?
Yeah, but then you process it
I'm not
as a coach.
sitting in some room watching the guy for 2 years.
That's why you're not coaching. That's like these coaches put hours and hours. It's disgusting the amount.
Now, they're not on the editing floor cutting it themselves.
No, nowadays
someone's walking in saying press play.
There's video editors that plug it in, but my point is we see it nowadays. The guys get on the bench with the iPad. They're watching the shift they just had 8 seconds ago.
Absolutely.
I'll just tell you what, it doesn't take anybody with, like, it doesn't take much to say Tyler Bertuzzi will fit in that line.
No, I agree. But it just... These coaches just don't go, well, he'll fit in that line, and you know what, I'm going golfing. Like the coaches, and by understanding, Sheldon Keefe puts the work in. So, that coaching staff, they put the work in to understand the ins and outs of their players, what they can do to make them better, what they do well, to continue to build on it. And like, it is tedious. I'm telling you, sitting in a room sometimes, and it's like, something that you could take in 5 minutes, it takes an hour to get through because there's lots of people weighing in on it.
Well, and at least they're playing 82 games, where, like in football, they do all of that and sometimes more. They're famous getting there at 3 a.m, leaving at midnight.
Yeah.
And they play 17 times. And if they're the worst team in the league, you still got to put that work in, understanding our team stinks.
Right.
Like we have no chance at winning, and yet I have to put in like 20 hours of tape.
Right now as we speak, it's almost 4 o'clock in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, there's coaches. I mean,
Unless
obviously
their gear got stolen.
Unless their gear got stolen or the guy resigned or got fired yesterday. Was that their defensive
coordinator? He resigned, but I think it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, like you.
I think it's nonsense. I think it's just a built-in thing because your team's garbage, and it's just like do work and figure something out. It's like get better players, draft better players, and you won't have to sit in the video room and do garbage, stupid things.
Right.
So you're
It's ridiculous.
anti-watching tape in the offseason?
Watching tape? What are you kidding me? What the hell are you going to watch? Like if you don't know this stuff like off the top of your head, just by I don't know, I'm not getting into it, man. I'm just not doing that. That's
These coaches
watching
put the time in.
tape,
Throw
2
on
hours, 2 years of a guy's shifts.
Yeah.
Are
I
you
mean,
on drugs?
They're consolidated, obviously.
Yeah,
like
it's not- they're not going
he's not
through,
watching the
like-
whole game.
Not watching.
Yeah, but someone had to dig through 2 years of the guy's shifts.
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
insane,
I
and it's
guarantee
dumb.
I would bet money on it. That's
Last year in
what people-
April,
should.
I saw you flick one into in the crowd. What
Yeah,
happened?
that's right.
It's just, no.
What else you can do? Watch first 48 and fall asleep? You might as well watch. Might as well put the work in. Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.